Hello there, football fans, and welcome to Soccer Today in a very cozy room 442. James Sharman, Sarah Peraria, Mikey Singh here. A lot to get to today. It is, of course, the international break, meaning lots of football outside the club world. We have Euro 2024 qualifying, FIFA friendlies, AFCON qualifying, Nations League and CONCACAF, and I should mention, just there for Mikey Singh, some MLS. There are some club football games going on, by the way.
Yeah.
We won't get into them today, though, unfortunately, but there's a lot to get to in MLS. But let's begin, shall we, in South America. Not too many months ago now, a little Leo Messi won the World Cup at Argentina. These are the scenes outside a restaurant he was just dining at this past week. In fact, Sarah, your friend was here.
Yeah.
And it just shows the rock and roll status of where he is at right now, I think, in Argentina.
Yeah, first time back in Buenos Aires since winning the World Cup, and it was just bananas. I have videos. My friend was at, actually, the restaurant itself. Her videos are similar to this, just pure chaos. And I mean, it really just shows you, like, South American football is different. Like, that to me is just like, they are on a different level. Like, these are really gods to the people. And you can tell from just what we just watched.
And on the pitch, he gets back on the field. That's Argentina, the first time since lifting the trophy, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Now, listen, it's a friendly. It doesn't mean that much against Panama, but he does this in the last minute. I mean, he's a man for the occasion, isn't he, Mikey? Look
at the crowd.
Yeah, it's poetic, right? Every time it seems like there's a big moment, he's the guy that steps up and fulfills that big moment. And you look at the scenes before that match, and the crowd and the reception that Argentina was getting. This was it their first match back since
Yeah, and at Monumental, no less, the biggest stadium in South America, 84,000 people, all singing like muchachos.
His 800th goal.
Yeah.
As well. Just incredible scenes. Now, we can't mention Messi, right, without mentioning Ronaldo. And I mean, I thought that was done. I thought we kind of moved on. But the fact is, Ronaldo's still Ronaldo, right? Gets recalled to Portugal in qualifiers against Liechtenstein, scores a penalty, and then scores that one in his world record 198th match for his country. He keeps doing it, Ronaldo. And listen, we can criticize, should he get called up by Martinez? I debated whether he should or not, Mikey. But the bottom line is he scored 2 goals, admittedly against a very weak Liechtenstein side.
Yeah, but you can't take anything away from what he's accomplished and what he's still accomplishing at this point. Should he get called up or not? You know, during the World Cup, we saw him get isolated at times from the team where he was dropped from the 11, if you can recall, and Portugal actually played fairly well during those matches. At Manchester United, the team is better off without Cristiano Ronaldo. That being said, he still is an effective footballer when used in the right situation, and when he understands what that situation is, which I think is the keyest part to all of this, is whether or not he's willing to buy in to what the coach is asking him to do, maybe sacrifice a little bit of his own ego, then I think he can still be an effective footballer for Portugal.
Yeah, so I think it's important, though, that with the new coach that he is still being called up, because we were kind of unsure whether or not that was going to happen.
It'll be a huge call to the first manager to drop him. And if Martinez is successful, it will be him to drop him at some point, right? But regardless, I mean, listen, to put it in some kind of context, though, Liechtenstein, right? Over the last 12 months, they've lost to the Faroe Islands, Cape Verde, Andorra, Moldova. So listen, again, it's not Ronaldo's fault. He's just playing the game, right? But they're not exactly a world force. And it was a free kick, which you don't see Ronaldo scored very many of.
I can't think of the last one he scored for United,
been a while.
right?
Maybe he did in Saudi Arabia, but who knows?
Not us.
Who's watching? Moving on now, Harry Kane of England fame, of course. The infamous, I guess, penalty over the bar at the World Cup, of course, against France. Back in action for England against Italy in Italy. England win the match. Kane scores. He is now one of the all-time he is the all-time leading goal scorer for England, surpassing Wayne Rooney. Look at that list there. Bobby Charlton, Gary Lineker, Jimmy Greaves, who might be the best of the bunch, by the way, in my opinion. And, of course, Michael Owen there. Here is Harry Kane and his manager, Gareth Southgate, post-match.
He's a brilliant professional. And to do it as quickly as he has as well, with still, a lot of his career still to go, is an incredible achievement.
I mean, breaking the goal scoring record, of course, would have been a proud moment, no matter the circumstance. But for sure, it feels that little bit sweeter when you win. And like I touched on, to win our first game here in Italy against Italy for a long, long time. So amazing night.
He is quite modest, isn't he? Is it fair to say that had he played for Man United, Chelsea, City, and won trophies during this storied career with all those goals, where he's second all time in the Premier League as well, number one for England, he would be seen as being among the greatest of all time from
Yes.
England. I still feel
Yes.
he doesn't quite get the respect he deserves.
100%. I think so. Unfortunately, I think that the trophies do matter. I mean,
It's a
me and
Spurs tax. It's a Spurs tax.
Don't ask us to talk about Spurs. But no, truly, like, he is such a talented player. He is breaking records across England. We've seen that. But I think it's just playing with a team like Spurs for so long that haven't won anything, that always come just close enough, but not, winning, and always disappoint. It taints, I think, his name.
Definitely.
Yeah, it might change next year if he gets a big move, right? we'll see. Now, he's going after Alan Shearer's record, of course, domestically as well, which he'll get at some point, unless Erling Haaland beats him to it, which
By the end of the year.
the way he's playing right now. But still, it was a big win for England. I never rate them. I actually put some money down on Italy in that one. A low-scoring Italy win, because the last few times Italy have beaten England in very low-scoring affairs, I don't give England quite the credit they deserve. They're actually a very good team who generally own qualifying.
They're a way better team than this Italy team too.
Oh.
If you just want to touch on them a little bit, like
Yeah.
they on paper at least, it seems that they've dropped off a little bit. But you're right, England I think are one of the best teams in the world when you look at just the roster that they have.
Destined to disappoint us for years to come, I'm sure. All right, so later in today's show, we'll talk some Canada. Of course, big games in Nations League for them. But coming up, it's your favorite segment. It's my favorite segment. It's Sarah's
Here we
favorite segment.
go.
If you're fans of Room 442, it's red card, yellow card. Welcome back to Soccer Today. As I promised, time now to really test Sarah and my, not so much our knowledge, but our opinion-based knowledge with red card, yellow card. Play on. Mikey Singh, take over the reins.
Let's do it. So obviously I'm going to say a statement. If you're new to this, I'm going to say a statement and they're going to either agree with me, and if they do, they're going to play on. If they completely disagree, they're going to give me a red card, and if they somewhat agree, somewhat disagree, if they're going to caution me, it's a yellow card. So let's start with the biggest news I think going on right now in world soccer, and that is the bizarre story of Bayern Munich, who have now appointed Thomas Tuchel as their new head coach. That came out of nowhere. So I'm going to say, despite appointing Tuchel, they're going to not win the Bundesliga this season. Just for context, right now they're 1 point behind Borussia Dortmund, but they also have Union Berlin and Freiburg, and RB Leipzig also still right in that mix. Only 8 points separate first from fifth place. So they're in second. What do you say, Sharms?
Wow. Why not play on? I agree with you. I think Dortmund is a fantastic side, playing fantastic football, both ends of the pitch. They're just worrying now about the Bundesliga. They're playing the Classico actually against Bayern Munich on April the 1st as well. That's a huge game coming up. Now, I know Tuchel's got history as the new manager bounce, did well with Chelsea when he went there originally. But I think there's a lot of problems in that Bayern set up at the moment, despite the fact they're in second place, right? In the Champions League quarterfinals, right? They're playing Man City, of course. Things are going right for them on many fronts, but I just love this Dortmund team. And at some point, the dynasty must be disrupted for a season or so. It happens now and again, albeit rarely in Germany. And I'm such a fan of Borussia Dortmund that, I think Bayern are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, some of those issues behind the scenes people are saying that's the reason why Nagelsmann was let
Well,
go.
on that, sorry, very quickly, is that Tuchel's got history of falling out with boards wherever he goes as well, right? So, that's a tough board. Nagelsmann not the first guy to fall out with that board over the years, right? So it's a big issue.
Sarah, quickly, any thoughts?
I want to agree and say they won't, but look at the history. The last time Dortmund won was 2012. Like, the thing is, the Bayern team, the players...
So what you're saying is they're due.
Well, you know what they might be. And I hope they lose everything, because honestly, I think the way they treated Nagelsmann was ruthless. I hope they get knocked out of the Champions League. I hope they don't win the DFKB Polka. I hope they don't win the Bundesliga.
What's it called?
I don't know. What's the cup?
DFB Pokal, yeah. But yeah, I know.
Yeah, Pokal. No, but I am having trouble to see this Bayern side do what they have been so used to doing
Mm-hmm.
and with the talent they have, and they've still only lost 3 matches all season. And we're saying this is a bad season for Bayern. Come on.
No, it's a bold take, but we'll see. Moving on, international breaks, it got me thinking, it's so great seeing Lionel Messi go and put on the Argentina shirt again. Ronaldo's doing his thing. We're watching England, we're watching Italy, Canada's about to play. I'm saying there should be more international breaks in soccer.
Stop. Stop. Absolutely not. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It ruins the flow of all the leagues. They have to travel so far. Players get injured and then come back. And then we're in the final stretch of the leagues here. And like, for example, Bayern Munich, they are 1 point behind Dortmund. The Bundesliga is tight right now. Players need to be fit for their teams. Not to mention that I could not be bothered more about Argentina playing Curacao next week. Like, I love seeing Messi play in that game yesterday against Panama. Definitely better than what I expected. But some of these matches are miserable.
And then that's why they invented the Nations League, to make more meaningful games, I suppose. But you're right, they're kind of pointless unless you're celebrating a World Cup. But yeah, red card as well. It's going to get worse too, right? Because of the World Cup when it was, it's going to bleed into next season as well. So I think it's September, October, and November there'll be breaks. And we every year we complain, we're just getting into the Prem or the Serie A or La Liga, and it stops, it breaks down. More injuries of players, more players faking injuries to avoid the international breaks as well. So yeah, I like international football. I love international football, but there's just too much of it.
I'm gonna say you're on the fence about
Yeah,
that one.
it's fair enough,
You haven't made your mind up quite yet. You brought it up, and I'm surprised you did, because I know you didn't look at the rundown beforehand. But I'm saying that Erling Haaland will become the Premier League's all-time leading scorer. Just for context here, Alan Shearer, of course, is currently the all-time leading scorer, 441 appearances, 280 goals. Then you have Wayne Rooney, 491 and 208 goals. Then Harry Kane, of course, 310 appearances, 204 goals. And then Erling Haaland, 26 appearances, 28 goals. Sarah, what do you think?
Erling Haaland will be, is what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying play on. Listen, it's his first season in the Prem. It's early days. But he has given us no reason. Absolutely none. And he shows, we saw in January he hadn't scored for a couple consecutive matches there. No problem. I'm going to go back-to-back hat tricks for Man City. Like, he clearly can bounce back. He might miss a few games, but then he makes up for it. So his goals per game average is still fantastic. I don't see why not.
I think the biggest question is how long he stays in the Premier League.
100%.
That's what,
If he goes to Madrid.
I'm giving a yellow card for that reason, actually. We're seeing a player that we haven't seen before in England, right? He is the perfect centre forward, right? He's bigger than everyone else. He's quicker and faster than everyone else. He's stronger than everyone else. Great touch. Pep's going to figure him out properly, how to utilize him. He's got the best coach in the world. But I still think he'll be, at some point, maybe lured to a Spain or, I say Barcelona, not under the current finances, but maybe in 10 years' time, right?
Real Madrid, for sure.
Real Madrid, yeah. They're going to come knocking on that door at some point now. I know his dad's got a lot of history at City and in England as well, which really helps him, of course, staying there. If he stays his career, then he'll smash it.
Yeah.
I agree. He'll just destroy it. But I still wonder. Yeah, exactly. He's still so young.
He could also go and come back.
That's a great point.
And he could still break the record. He's just that good.
Yeah.
All right, moving on quickly. Lionel Messi. I don't know what is going on with PSG right now and Lionel Messi. They've come out today and they've said that they want to keep, all of their stars. Whereas there are some reports that they're trying to decide whether they should just rebuild and blow it all up. And then you see Sergio Aguero come out and say, hey, there's a 50% chance we could see Lionel Messi back at Barcelona. But you know
My
what?
guy.
Forget that. I'm saying Lionel Messi will join Inter Miami next season.
Next season.
Like this summer.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it the yellow card because it's a big statement, right? But we've discussed it before, right? Mm-hmm. I've got a feeling this could be the time that he does it. Something's happening there, something untoward on and off the pitch. You do wonder if Qataris end up buying United. Will they be forced then to sell PSG as well? Will there be a connection made there? Yet to be made, allegedly. I should say that first of all. But is a chance to dominate MLS, and I say dominate. We're seeing him go there and put up numbers that we've never seen before. Even at 35, 36 years of age, he's that good. Apple come along. They got a lot of money as well. They
lot
want to
of
make this
money.
league succeed long term. They're in the whole game. So yeah, I
Ownership
can
of
really
Miami
see
too. We know they have the pull.
they have them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think I would love to see it next year. Like before he's, listen, we keep saying when he gets too old, right? I'm not sure what that means for Leo Messi, but let him stick around for 3 more years in MLS. Go to the World Cup in 3 years. Win one more, then trottle
Just
off. trottle
another
off to
one.
yeah, it's another one
What
to
do you-
in the sunset.
What do you think, Sarah?
Not yet.
Oh, let me guess.
That's with your
No.
heart.
You know
or
what-
your-
you know
No,
what
no,
she's
no, no,
gonna
no,
say,
no,
so-
no. Barcelona aside, because Copa America next year, he needs to continue playing at a much more competitive level because we, as much as we want to see Messi in the World Cup 3.5 years down the line, I'm still not sure if he will be able to. But I mean, look, the way he's playing right now, he's still doing everything. He's scoring for PSG, scoring for Argentina. There's no stopping this guy. But Copa America is the next thing on his mind, and I don't think he will go to MLS just yet because he needs to stay playing just higher level football.
Hey, we saw an Atlanta player score for Argentina yesterday.
Thank you
Yeah.
for bringing that up.
Sorry,
Thiago Almada.
yeah, which was also a deflection, and if he didn't put it in,
Oh,
you'd
a
wonder
deflection.
why. I'm sorry.
Wow.
It wasn't a great goal.
hate.
It wasn't
The
a great goal.
hate.
It wasn't.
It's
It wasn't a great
incredible.
He's a
goal.
great
It
player.
wasn't a great
But he's
goal.
a great player.
I'm not saying it's a great goal, but
He's going to be the most expensive. Thiago Almada is going to be the most expensive player ever sold by Major League Soccer. He's just 21 years old,
Get him out.
and
they're
Got him
saying
overseas.
that he's actually better than Messi at that age. They're not
so was
saying
Victor
that, I'm saying
Vasquez.
that, but
So was Victor Vasquez when they
and-
grew up in
and
the
he's
academy
proven-
together. That clearly he's an MLS Cup winner, treble winner. Has Messi won an MLS
Nope,
Cup?
has
and a
not won
treble?
yet until next year.
There you go.
Boom. Great segue. Great way to end the segment. Not really a segue, was it? But you get the point. That was red card,
Everybody's
yellow
favorite
card. When we come back, we'll look at some of the bigger stories in the Premier League so far this season. It's been a great campaign. We won't mention, I promise you, the relegation battle, although it's been incredible so far and will be even better. But some big stories. We'll break them down for you when we come back. The Premier's delivered this season. It's been just fantastic. So many compelling storylines. As I mentioned before, we won't even mention the race for the drop. I mean, it's crazy at the moment, of course, and will just get better. But we kind of break it down to 6 big stories thus far. We mentioned already Erling Haaland's dominance this campaign. United's back, of course, with Erik ten Hag. New faces, new territory. Brighton, Brentford, 2 teams who just will not go away. Arsenal's resurgence scores top of the table right now. Are they on their way to another Premier League title? Liverpool and Chelsea, they've struggled throughout the campaign thus far. And spurring Conte's step, that's obviously an issue for Tottenham Hotspur. And Antonio Conte hasn't been fired just yet at time of taping, but who knows what's happening right now in Dan Levy's office. But out of those big stories, like Sarah, for you, which is the big one so far? Does one jump out?
I think it has to be Arsenal. I think it has to be. They've been, so kind of consistently in 4th or below 4th, for 20 years now, nearly. And the fact that they're doing so well, they're so consistent. They've proven us wrong time and time again. And they're playing really good football. It's just like the cherry on top. Like, I actually have loved watching them this season. Youngest manager, youngest team in the Prem. I find it difficult. These are all really good stories, and I think they're all huge in the Prem this year, but it has to be Arsenal for me.
And I say this all the time. I think the best thing for this Arsenal team was that docuseries, the All or Nothing docuseries that really give you insight into what was a devastating season for them, coming ever so close to cracking into that top 4, getting that Champions League spot, and then crumbling out. You really got some insight into the dressing room, Arteta specifically, and Aaron Ramsdale was a big focus in that story. So you really, you grew a connection to some of these players. So watching them take that next step as the youngest team in the Premier League, it is one of the best stories. But for me, it's all about Manchester United. I know that's a little bit biased,
Shocking.
but their story is so incredible this year. Erik ten Hag is obviously the focal point of it, but when you think about where United started this year, nobody had them making the top 4. Nobody had them really being a serious contender in any real tournament this year. Everybody was waiting for the moment that they can just jump all over this United team, get on them, and honestly turn them into a laughingstock, which is what they were on the verge of doing the last couple of years. So I understand that, and it happened. The first 2 games of the season, if you recall, did not go very well. They lost their opening match of the season, then they lost to Brentford. They lost 4-0 in that game, and all of a sudden things were crumbling. And then you add in the saga of Cristiano Ronaldo and everything that went on there, and how Erik ten Hag has managed to come out somehow, some way, come out of all of this. And United are competing for 3 trophies now this year. I think this story is incredible in just its own way.
Well, we talk about the Amazon series, right? And they're not doing the Prem this year. If they were, that is the one team you'd want them to be following, because, like you said, it's been such a roller coaster. That I remember that first month, people were, I was jumping all over them.
Easy to, right?
Not criticizing Ten Hag necessarily, but saying, man, this is a poisoned chalice. This is a poisonous, toxic room as well, led by Cristiano Ronaldo. And then they slowly began to crawl out of that. And then, like you mentioned, the Ronaldo saga adds more.
The interview,
right? Yeah, it appears more. You couldn't write this stuff, could you? It'd be such a great fly in the wall documentary.
So good.
But here they are now. I'm not prepared to say they're back just yet, Sarah, but I tell you what, they're on their way back.
Yeah.
And I think next year's going to be really fascinating to watch what they do in the off season and how they make the next progression.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're still competing for the Prem. Like you said, I don't think they'll win it, but they're still there. They're in Europa, and they're in the FA Cup. Yeah, the Mickey Mouse double over here.
Treble.
You missed.
Treble.
Oh, we'll talk about it. But to me, still, I mean, it's been a fantastic story, but I still don't think it's a bigger story than Arsenal, Haaland, or Chelsea even.
Well, Arsenal, again, I think if they win the championship, which I think they will, that will be, for me, the biggest story. But they have faced adversity in previous seasons and crumbled. So far this year, Arsenal's faced adversity and they've come through it. But they've got a tough schedule down the road. Big games on the road as well. But they're not worrying about too much other than that. I know they've got Europa League, but quite frankly, this is far more important.
They have one of the toughest schedules.
They don't have Europa League.
Sorry,
they
that's
got
right.
kicked out.
Yes, that's right.
No, but that's also, I think that, no, you were. But that's also why I think that all eyes on the prize at this point, and it's going to be Prem, and I think they're going to be able to do it.
Out of those players on Arsenal, you mentioned the documentary, you saw Saka, so likable, right?
Yeah.
Odegaard, this young leader emerging. Like, who is the face of Arsenal? Outside of Arteta, because I think it's probably fair to say it's Arteta.
It has to be Odegaard.
Who is the face? I think it's that kid there. Don't you think Saka?
I think so. I would agree with you. I think he's, especially because he's English, right? And obviously when you play in England, you're playing for the top club in England, and you're just that important of a player. It comes with it. And I know Arteta was asked, I think last week, and just if Saka's the best player in the Premier League right now, because the kid is balling out, and he did so for England as well. And, you think back to that penalty that he missed, obviously the infamous Euro penalty, and what came after that, the way he's been able to bounce back after that. And when he steps up to the spot now, it's almost like it's automatic that he's going to find the back of the net. I think he is the face of Arsenal. And it's just funny that a year ago we're talking about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang being the face of Arsenal, and look where he is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is he now? Somewhere at Chelsea, but
maybe Barcelona.
Yeah, maybe back there
in
now,
the
who
Barcelona
knows?
locker room. I don't know.
But I kind of want to see Arsenal win it as well, don't you? It's been a long time. Back in 2004, the Invincibles, what a team that was, and that era of football, such charisma, such personality, identity of that Arsene Wenger-led team, and then it kind of disappeared for a long time. And now with City in this dynasty, Liverpool falling away a little bit, I'd love to see Arsenal win it before United get back, because like I said, they're on the way back.
Yeah, no, I have wanted to see them since they kind of started this season. I've been really excited to just kind of hope and see what they can do. And I would also love to see Arsenal, because I think like when Arsenal won, we were like really like kids, but I remember it, and I feel like it's like there's like nostalgia when I think about that Invincible team, and especially players like Thierry Henry. Like it's just, there's something that's, I don't know, they're so sweet that I don't have like a Premier League team, so I feel like maybe for you, you're like, I don't want to see anything.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what though, these guys are the opposite to that team, right? In that team was, from the Martin Keowns to the Robert Perez's,
established players,
right? But they were nasty as well.
Nasty.
Don't get me, probably good guys, but on the pitch they were nasty. This team's sublime on the pitch.
So
Are they
likable.
nasty? Maybe they lack that. Jacques is nasty.
Yeah, fair.
He's the one guy. He could have played for what he probably wouldn't have got into the Invincibles, but he had the same kind of personality though, which is good to see. But so maybe they got some maturing to do still, which they'll do maybe as champions, right? But they need to get that kind of that killer edge where you don't want to go to that stadium because you might get 2 feet over the ball.
Yeah, and I don't want to get ahead of myself because this Premier League season has been so unbelievable. And I honestly don't want it to end because all the stories that we're talking about, there's so many more. But I do want to know what the next step is for Arsenal. Can they come back? Can they repeat this? Do they have UEFA Champions League ambition? Can they really take that next step? I don't know, but I'm fascinated to see it.
It is, yeah. Will they spend in the summertime?
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus is coming back now as well, don't forget, right? They've done a lot of this without him. So they are getting better. But it's a great point. European pedigree, have they got it? They've never had it before, really. Not on the top flight stage of the Champions League. So that's an interesting one. Brighton, Brentford, Chelsea, Liverpool, or Antonio Conte? What jumps out to you?
I mean, Antonio Conte has been so entertaining with what's going on at Spurs, but truly Chelsea and Liverpool. Like Chelsea in 10th, Liverpool, climbing back up, but still miserable. Like I mean, when we talked about Nagelsmann getting fired, I was like, well, in that case, Klopp should have been gone in like October if that's what we're comparing here. But the two of them, after the seasons they had last year, it's shock. And the money Chelsea spent alone in January, we talk about this time and time again. It is shocking that these two are doing so bad.
Yeah, no, I think I would be with you if Liverpool didn't make up so much ground lately. If they were still down there with Chelsea and Liverpool, I would argue that this is probably the biggest story of the season just based on where Liverpool was. Chelsea, I'm less surprised to see them in the position that they are just because of the amount of change that they've had to endure. We'll see what happens to that team next year, but you have to imagine expectations are raised.
Yeah, sorry. You know what it is about Liverpool is that, I mean, sorry, they're in 6th. Like, it's not the end of the world, but I think the Liverpool we've seen for the past, 5 years, their football has been phenomenal, and they have been such a good team to watch. But the thing is now, even though they're kind of getting by and they're winning games, it's not the same football, and it's really not good to watch. And I think that's maybe why I'm like, this team is not the team that we were watching,
So many injuries, though, and
Absolutely.
Certain players aging quicker than perhaps we thought. Jordan Henderson being an example of that, right? A guy had a good World Cup, I thought, but since the wasn't a bad World Cup. Southgate trusted him, but since then he's been, looking his age for sure. Virgil van Dijk not quite the same as well.
Yeah,
it's going to be a great summer actually for football fans if you like movement. I think because you got some teams from United to Liverpool needing to do something. United obviously up top. Is Harry Kane going to be the big piece?
What's Newcastle going to do?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they almost got on the board there,
Yep.
but they slipped recently, right?
What's Spurs off season going to look like? I'm thinking about all of this. You're right. It's just
Will
gonna
they
be
fire
wild.
Conte? Will he still be there in the summertime? Will Dan Levy just say, no. I know how badly you want to be fired. I'm going to keep you around because you got a contract here. I doubt it. Now, Nagelsmann's available.
Yeah, seriously.
Speaking to our boy Albert Vitanian, big Spurs fan, straight away, we'll get him then.
That would be convenient.
Very convenient. They were in on him apparently before he joined Bayern Munich.
Yeah, they were. And he was interested in Tottenham as well.
Well, Thomas Tuchel, the
Interesting.
reason why they had to move so quickly, because apparently there were some links there to Tottenham too. So yeah, this offseason is going to be absolutely wild. What's Brighton going to do? Are they going to sell some of their players? What's Brentford going to do? Are they going to start becoming more
you
buyers?
got the likes of Matoma. Where's he going?
Exactly.
You gotta
This is so
expect it.
typical,
What's
isn't it, right?
Napoli going to do? Sorry, let's jump into this area.
There's so much, right? Big be a fire sales in some places, but we go through all these great stories and we don't give Brentford and Brighton the love. That's kind of fitting, the way it is in England, right? They should get more love than they've had. They've been such incredible campaigns, but you're right, great players leaving, moving. It will always happen, but they are models for so many clubs. All right, when we come back, Canada back in action for the first time since, of course, the World Cup, up against Curacao and Honduras. We'll break those games down when we come back.
some transition expected over the next year or two. I think there'll be transition this year. There's a group we're committed to because we're currently in competition with Nations League, and there's players that just have got that experience of being in these environments, but more importantly, winning in these environments. You know, it wasn't so long ago Canada really struggled to go away and get results or wins in CONCACAF environments, and you know, these players have had that experience together. So there's an element of keeping a group together for a period of time to allow the continuity of the Nations League competition. But I think you'll see some transition this year. But at the same time, Joe, you have to have players that are playing at next level and at a level that their experiences warrant the calls up. And I think that, you know, when you look at Canada now, and we've got some young players in MLS that are knocking on the door, which is brilliant. You know, and at some point, you know, while MLS is a solid league and there's great experiences can be had in that environment, you know, those Champions League experiences, the Europa League experiences, you know, those are the next level of football experiences that I want my players to be pushing towards.
That was John Herdman last week as he announced his squad for Curacao and Honduras, and pretty familiar looking squad. Some new faces. Tom McGill from Brighton gets in there as a goalkeeper. You have Dom Zator and Carl Hebert.
Victor Latore too.
Yeah, Latore, of course.
Those
some
guys are the new
CPL love
faces,
there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So some new faces. He mentions transition there. I whenever I hear John talk that way about where his players should be playing, I always have a bit of sympathy for Don Garber, because it seems not for the first time John Herdman needs his players to play tier 1 football, right? And at this point, that's Europe. That's playing in the Champions League. That's playing in the Europa League, not MLS. Do you think MLS are aggrieved by that, or do they kind of understand and think, fair play, he has got a point here?
No, they're definitely aggrieved by that, because when you look at some of the players who have contributed to this men's national team, it's a lot of their key pieces have come either they currently still play in MLS or they came through Major League Soccer. So, you know, no matter which way you spin it, Major League Soccer has played such an important, vital role in the development of soccer in both the United States and in Canada. So I think when John Herdman often does talk about, you know, more of his players going to tier 1 leagues, it does probably rub Major League Soccer the wrong way, because you still have guys like a Jonathan Osorio and Richie Larea who are, you know, if not starters, first people off the bench for this men's national team and play very important roles, and yet still they're having great careers with TFC. And yeah, you have to wonder if that's a little bit of a slight.
He also said, though, Sarah, how, we want our players playing in tier 1 football, but this won't happen just tomorrow or the day after. This is a 10-year or a 20-year process. Mm-hmm. And he understands that, which makes a lot of sense to me as well. And I think it's important for Canadian fans to realize, that what a journey it was last year to the World Cup is fantastic. But they were shown up at the World Cup by vastly superior teams.
That's exactly
in many ways, right? So the corner's been turned, but it's an uphill road after the corner's turned.
But you have to start somewhere, right? So I guess this is like the starting point, but you can't fault him for saying that I want my players to play in more competitive leagues, because like you mentioned, they got shown up at the World Cup by teams that most of their players play in Europe. And that's just a fact. It's not that the players from MLS didn't contribute to getting Canada to where they are, like Ozo and Richie, but you do wonder if they were playing more competitive football, would they have been able to contribute more? That's the thing. It's just a matter. It's just factual. Like, it's just, the Champions League in Europe is more competitive than MLS. Yeah. He's not in the wrong for saying that. I do want, future players and my players to have that opportunity, because they need to be on that level. Because I think it also prepares you for playing at a higher stage, just like the nerves and whatnot.
It didn't do very well for Jonathan David.
What didn't do well for Jonathan?
He didn't have a great World Cup whatsoever, yet he's playing in a top league and playing
but I think I get your point there. But John David's development, I think, has been almost perfect since going to Europe, overseas, right?
For sure.
Would he have stalled a little bit in MLS? I don't know. It's hard to say. Or would he have dominated the MLS and moved for 20 million? A little bit later in his career. I don't think anyone's dismissing MLS. It's extremely important, as is CPL, right? But it's just part of the pathway, right? And at this point, he'd rather his players get over there. I do wonder if he'd rather his players get over there in some capacity rather than MLS. That might be more of a concern. So should someone go to second division in Scotland rather than staying in MLS, for example.
Well, that's what I think a lot of this is, because when you look at Latori and Zator, who are both very great, accomplished Canadian Premier League players, they only get rewarded when they head overseas, right? It's not like they're playing at a top 5 league in the world, but they've left the Canadian Premier League and all of a sudden, okay, you know what? Now you're good enough to make the men's national team. That's where I take a little bit of issue with it, where it's like, you know, maybe we have talent that's right here in our own backyard that's getting overlooked just because you play in a league that John Herman doesn't feel is up to speed.
But maybe they're better now, having played a year in some lower European league than had they stayed at CPL.
I have a hard time. Yeah,
we also spoke about it earlier this week, though, in that these two matches are, you know, not the toughest matches that Canada are going to be having. So I was asking Mikey whether or not Herdman is, you know, experimenting a little bit, bringing, you know, the 3 uncapped guys to the team, seeing how they're going to do. But the skeleton of the team is still there. It's the same. But I wonder if it's, you know, maybe he's just sussing it out.
I don't think you can experiment right now, though. I think it's a big game still. You're right. I mean, listen, I've got some people I respect and who've been around the game for a long time. I'm nervous about Curacao. You can't be nervous about Curacao. You can't. Now, that's a team that's getting better. I get it. You know, I know they're Dutch descent, yada, yada, yada. Very nice story. Well done, Curacao. You're still Curacao. This is Canada, who bossed CONCACAF during qualifying, right? Who have players playing in the Champions League week in and week out. They should be beating Curacao.
I'm laughing because I know exactly how those people are feeling. Those are people who have watched this men's national team
No, that's
for
exactly what it
20
is, yeah.
years prior to the
100%
last
they
cycle.
are.
And they've known what Canada, despite heading into some places and in some environments where they believe they should win, you've seen maybe an 8-1 far too many
1-8-1 too many?
1-8-1 too many.
But it's Curacao. And I know, listen, it's in Curacao. And listen, the pitch may be awful, which could dictate the way this team plays, but it's Curacao.
I'm not having any of that. If any of them go on and talk about the pitch again, get out of here.
Hey, Jamaica was awful.
Jamaica was awful, but they still played in Edmonton on freezing cold ice. Absolutely not. If you're going to do that, then you play on the dirt in, you know, Central America. Absolutely not. I don't want to hear it from them. Don't.
Remember that one game where the fields were flooded? I think it was against Honduras.
It was the Honduras game, the 2-1.
That was like dangerous.
So is playing in -20 in Edmonton. You can fall and literally break your bones. Football's not meant to be played in the cold. Like
That was
the
an
whole
iconic moment of Canadian sport,
Oh,
Sarah.
I
Heritage
hated
moment.
Heritage moment,
every
yeah.
minute of it. Hated it.
Not Heritage Committee moment. That's different entirely.
Sensitive topic.
But there's still so many questions about this team. You know, we know, like you said, the skeleton's there for still the same team. It's very, very good. I do wonder about Atiba, and people thought maybe he'd retire after the World Cup. He hasn't, and I'm happy that he hasn't. He was at the World Cup. He was clearly not 100%. But you got Ishmael Kone, who's playing good minutes now for Watford. Is it time to give him the ball in that position and say, okay, now see how far you can take us under perhaps Atiba's wing off the pitch? Or am I dismissing Atiba way too soon?
I still think Atiba can play some minutes. It's been, 2 months since the World Cup? And if you think about that game against Belgium, Atiba was really good against Belgium.
Yeah.
I don't think he can go 90 minutes anymore, but I still think he can be an effective player. You're right. Ismail Kone, the way that he's playing right now for Watford, you have to imagine he is next to step up once Atiba is ready to pass the reins. And I saw they had a great image on social media of Atiba and Ismail Kone going back and forth a little bit there. But yeah, you have to imagine that time is coming fairly soon. If it won't be this window, probably by the next.
Aren't the next matches in June though, which will be after the when the Super League is done?
In Vegas, baby.
Well, that's the thing. I'm wondering if these will be his last then international games, because by the time they come around again, he'll be finished.
But
at
it would be like the
Besiktas.
finals, so maybe you want to wrap it
Yeah.
up with Canada, just because I as much as Turkey does mean to him, you have to imagine based on what he's been through with this national team,
Another
he
Gold
probably
Cup.
wants to go out on top with
Yeah.
Canada.
I hope he gets that moment though on home soil to
Oh,
say
yeah.
goodbye.
Yeah.
And even if he retires, give him a testimonial. Do something. Because he's been such a
Has
servant
a
for this
Canada
country.
soccer player ever had a testimonial?
Probably not. No.
All right, he deserves one.
Oh,
he
yeah.
should be the first.
Internationals don't always get them, right? It's more from a club standpoint. But from Atiba and Canada soccer, I mean, yeah, you have to, I think. Although this is a association that weren't giving the women a home game before a World Cup, so we'll see what happens. Lots to talk about regarding that still, but not today. I promise you, no governance reform today talk, I promise you. Goalkeeping. It's a question mark, isn't it? Is Milan Borjan for sure the number one? I mean, listen, Max Crepeau's recovering from injury, of course, from the MLS Cup final. We saw McGill being called in now. Dane Sinclair's fantastic. James Pantemis is injured right now. How stable is the ground beneath Milan Borjan?
It's as stable as Max Crepeau's
Oh my
foot,
goodness.
to be completely honest. And I just mean that in the way that right now, no offense to Dane Sinclair, I don't know too much about Tom McGill. I understand that he's spent time with Brighton's B team. I understand that he has featured on the bench in the Premier League. I understand that he's 22 years old and maybe there is some upside there. But no one's coming. Like Dane Sinclair, as much as you are an exciting Major League Soccer prospect, as much as you are an exciting Canadian national team prospect, you're not in the same category or stratosphere right now at this point in your career as Milan Borjan is or Max Crepeau. So I think the only one that can challenge Borjan right now for that starting job is Max Crepeau. So if his foot gets healthy and his foot gets stronger, then maybe he's the one to challenge Borjan. But right now he's head and shoulders better than any other goalie in the program.
You think so, huh? I wonder. I mean, he's mid-30s, and for a goalkeeper, that's not really that old. He's got plenty of game left. He stole games for Canada in qualifying, I acknowledge that, but not a great World Cup.
Oh, I
either.
mean, maybe one of the worst players for Canada in the World
The
Cup.
blunder
Yeah.
against Morocco, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, though, it happens, but I think Mikey's right. And I also think there's a trust built with him between him and his defenders and the team and Herdman.
And Herdman for sure.
I also don't know if it's, is it the right time? These games matter quite a lot, and I know they're only going to get more difficult. So I don't know. Maybe the thing is the Honduras games at home at BMO Field. You know the fans want to see for it, like Milan. I agree. I don't think we're gonna see anyone else between the six.
Very quickly, Carl Aaron being on such great form is such a big thing for this team right now. We know John David's been just bossing it since returning from the World Cup, at least after the first couple of weeks he returned. He's been brilliant, leading all goal scorers, all tied now, I think, with Mbappe, isn't he? Regardless, he's been fantastic. But Laren, 5 goals in their games up top, returning to Spain, to Valladolid.
Hey, there you go.
But I mean, to me, that's a huge deal for this team up top because, you know, when Carl wasn't on form, the front line did suffer. Simple as that.
Well, it's funny because whenever he wasn't on form for whatever reason, he'd come back to Canada and just turn into an absolute superhero when he puts on that men's national team jersey. So now that he's back in form and he's coming into camp, that part's really exciting for Canada's ability to put the ball just in the back of the net. You know, the last time he was probably in this good of form was when he was playing for Besiktas. That was maybe 3 years ago, right? So that's when he really started to turn things up. Let's see if he can take that next step this time around.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's the guy that shows up in big moments for Canada, and yeah, Mikey's right. If he's in form right now, I expect to see him. Like he somehow always manages to be that guy and score the goals that Canada needs.
How much pressure on that guy behind you in these games?
A ton. I'm telling you right now, I don't know why, but I have a bad feeling. I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know why, but there's something that is like not. There's been so much that's gone on with Canada soccer off the pitch that I am concerned about it affecting.
We can't overlook that, right?
No.
We saw that play out with the women's team, and as
Yep.
much as they might not want to admit it, it definitely did take a toll on them.
I think, yeah, but are the men paying that closer attention, I wonder?
I don't know.
We're going to find out. Yeah, Cap this weekend, right? It's Curacao.
James, I know.
It's curious.
Curacao. Come on. What are we? Are we a football nation or not? Come on. Ridiculous. All right. We're out of time for this block. One more to go. I've no idea where we'll go with it. That's what the last block's for. It's a bit of a banter session, so stick around. Welcome back to Soccer Today in room 442. Yes, it's the international break. We all agree we like internationals, but there's kind of too many of them. But here we are, so let's embrace it. So many questions still to talk about various teams, but being a destination for a footballer in the modern world where you don't have to play for the country you were born in, if there's some connection there, be it a parent or a grandparent or a pet, if you've got some connection there, you can play for that country, which means, for example, Canada can be looking around the world, looking at passports, procuring talent, but we haven't always been a destination. The States are becoming that destination. And when John Herdman said, listen, 10, 20 years to really work on this cycle of talent, that's what they've done. And now we're seeing a very, very good team of players around the top tier of European football. And it's about to get a little bit stronger, Mikey. It seems with an Arsenal player dominating in France right now.
Yeah, exactly. Florent Balogun. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name completely perfectly, but you probably will learn fairly soon because it seems like he's on the verge of committing to the United States. And you mentioned, United States blueprint there and how they've managed to go and get a lot of their players overseas playing at top clubs. And you look at the roster, and if you look at that individually, you see a lot of these guys playing at top clubs. The one difference between Canada and the United States that they haven't been able to hit on is a guy like Alphonso Davies or Jonathan David, right? They have some really good quality players,
Not a
Christian
genuine superstar.
Pulisic, Gio Reyna, guys who are Weston McKennie, guys who are very, very good, but you're right, not that superstar. Balogun, again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, so I apologize if
Just
I'm
own it when
butchering
you
it.
say it. It's fine. That's what I do.
Balogun.
Balogun? All right, Balogun, he could be that generational superstar for the United States, and it's at a position where they needed to improve the most. It's striker. So this guy's 17 goals so far in Ligue 1. He's as much or maybe even more than Jonathan David so far this season. It's a big, big get for the United
But
States.
they have Pepe.
Don't forget Gio Reyna.
Don't forget Gio Reyna.
Okay, wait, really quickly. In our lifetime, Mikey,
Mm-hmm.
do you think, because you speak really highly of the USA's men's national team, do
Yeah.
you think we're going to see the US win a World Cup?
Win a World Cup.
You too.
That's a big stretch.
I wouldn't say in our lifetime, because mine will end before yours. That's what you're saying, right? So dramatically. I'm going to be dead in 10 years, according to Sarah. So no.
You know what?
I
Yeah.
want to see the States
I'm
win.
gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say yeah. I do believe they're making
Yeah?
ground. Yeah.
You know what? I'm an England fan. I said that as well. Once upon a time. And here we are, still waiting. All right. That's it. That's soccer today. Hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy the internationals. We're back with our regular Premier League programming. Same time, same place next week.